Hare Krishna. I'd like to thank each and every one of you all for joining in, both offline and in the online world. Today we are going to dive deep into one of the most historic prayers of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, Srimad Bhagavatam is defined by this set of prayers that we're going to be discussing today. So, just to give you a little background of the context of these prayers. First of all, I was actually thinking of cancelling today's class, but then I felt that I was really not in a position to conduct a class, running fever and all. But then I felt that there is so much eagerness built up already among the devotees, there's so much of enthusiasm. I felt it's not right for me to let that down. And, in the mood of the prayers of Kunti, I said, let's try and see what happens, So hopefully my voice will last for this session. So Srimad Bhagavatam, if you study the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is not chronological. It has some mix and matches, Like say for example, the last to last session which I did on Vyasadeva, it had an entire section on Shukadeva Goswami and the birth of Shukadeva Goswami and all that. I didn't cover that purposely. This chapter that we're going to do right now has an entire section on Parikshit Maharaj, how Krishna saved him, basically. How Uttara runs to Krishna and asks him to save her. I'm not doing that part. Because later on, in the next few chapters of the Bhagavatam, you will find one full chapter dedicated to Parikshit's story. So when I cover Parikshit's story, at that time I will do that part also, which I missed out from before. And then there will be another whole chapter on Shukadeva Goswami. So when I do that, I will bring in those verses from before into that section. So I am trying to make it easy for you all to understand. So when Shukadeva Goswami speaks the Bhagavatam and Vyasadeva is writing the Bhagavatam, Suta Goswami narrating the Bhagavatam, it's a very spontaneous narration. So sometimes in that spontaneous narration, the narrator can go in another direction, it falls under the category of ecstasy, Sometimes you find speakers, speaking something and then suddenly they say something else. And you don't understand only what they said, why they said it, We don't have to analyze so much. It's their ecstasy. That's how Krishna is inspiring them. But for our study and to make it easier for us to absorb, I'm trying to divide it like this, okay? So, the section of Kunti Maharani's prayers begins after Parikshit is saved from the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama technically releases two Brahmastras. The first Brahmastra he released, which was withdrawn by Arjun, and the second Brahmastra he released to kill the womb of Uttara. Some acharyas say that these two happened in two different kalpas also. So whatever it is, there are two Brahmastras involved in that. So we'll discuss the Brahmastra part later. But after this whole section, Ashwatthama is punished and Uttara's womb, Parikshit is saved, and all the Pandavas settle down as kings of the world. So they are settled and they are beginning to rule the kingdom. As the Pandavas are beginning to rule the kingdom, things are settled. Krishna says, I'm going back to Dwaraka. Now, Krishna is not someone who stays with the Pandavas when happy times are happening. You will not find Krishna much staying in Hastinapur or Indraprastha when there are joyful occasions and festivals and all that. Very rarely. But whenever there's a calamity, Krishna is there. So that's the way Krishna functions. So he was wanting to go back to Dwaraka because he's not needed here. That's when Kunti Maharani comes in and she stops the chariot of Krishna and she's offering these prayers in the mood of not wanting to allow Krishna to go back to Dwaraka. Just like the gopis of Vrindavan, when Krishna was leaving from Vrindavan to Mathura, they held the chariot of Krishna and didn't allow him to go. They were trying to practically sleeping in front of the chariot and all. In that mood, the Kunti Maharani is experiencing great separation from Krishna and she's offering these prayers. Okay. So today, what I'm going to be doing essentially is, if you all are seeing your notes, there are two sections to these notes. The front part of the notes contains the essence of all the prayers. Just one word. So Kunti Maharani is glorifying Krishna in so many amazing ways. I've picked up one very powerful quality of Krishna that she wants to highlight in that prayer. So that's the way in which this front section is. And in the back section of this notes are the most beautiful and important prayers of Kunti Maharani which I have selected. Totally about 21 of them. And we are going to be dividing this entire section of 21 prayers into 2 sessions. Today, I'll be doing about 10 prayers. Krishna willing, if I don't get into some ecstasy in between, I'm hoping to finish 10 prayers, And in the next session, I'm planning to finish the remaining 11 prayers. So that's the way in which the whole Kunti Maharani prayers will be. There are a few prayers which are prayed by Kunti Maharani, but I have omitted them here in this sheet for various reasons. But you can pick up from the Bhagavatam, you can read them also. I highly recommend all of y'all to learn these prayers. These are powerful meditations of a great devotee. These are, even if you don't, if you're not into learning shlokas and all, but if you just recite every day, just keep reciting whenever you want to. That's why these handouts are going to be very handy for you all. I'm just putting together the best of the best so that you can easily access them. Okay? And make sure the next time you come, you get this handout. Okay? So let us start with the first prayer of Kunti Maharani. Kunti uvacha Namasye purusham tvadyam Ishwaram prakrite param Alakshyam sarva bhutanam Antar bahir avastitam. Kunti Maharani is praying to Krishna. O Krishna, I offer my obeisances to you because you are the original personality of Godhead and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You are existing both within and without, and yet you are invisible to all. So here Kunti is highlighting this one aspect of Krishna, that he is the source of everything. He is the originator of everything. And she is offering her obeisances to Krishna. So she is starting her prayer by using the word Namasye. The word Namasye means offering respects. The word Namaha means usually any prayer that you take always has the word Namaha in it. Namo Mishrapadaya, so many prayers that the Acharyas are offering. All of that will have Namaha word because it's about offering obeisances. The word Namaha means, Na means not. Ma means me. Namaha means it's not about me, it's about you. So we are telling the Lord, my dear Lord, life is not about me, it is about you. Glory is not for me, it is about the Lord. So Namasya means I offer my respects to the Lord and I offer myself to the Lord. That's the mood in which Kunti Maharani is offering obeisances. Offering obeisances is an integral part of Bhakti Yoga. Ideally, every day, we should count the number of obeisances we offer to Krishna. Sanatana Goswami would offer every day 2,000 obeisances. We can begin with 2 at least, morning, evening, So the problem with our body is that our body is not used to bending. Only when we come to the temple, we offer obeisances. At home, hardly anybody offer obeisances because the altar might be there, but how much do we really go and offer obeisances? So it's a good idea to count the number of obeisances you offer. Anyway, you have this counter of 10,000 steps which are counting, right? Many people have that counter. At least offering obeisance is actually very healthy for the body also, because it's like full body workout involved in it. So Krishna has spoken one verse twice in the Gita. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyajimam namaskuru. So he's recommending manmana means absorb your mind in me. If you can't absorb your mind in me, then fine, bhava madbhakto. Absorb yourself in, get attracted to devotees, and through the devotees follow them. If you can't do that also, then he says madhyaji. At least do some worship at home. And if you can't do that also, then he says mam namaskuru. If you can't absorb yourself in your mind, at least do it with your body. Not everybody is able to do bhakti at a mental level. At least physical level you can do. So offer obeisances, it's like doing bhakti with your body. So then offer obeisances namasye to whom? Purusham. So she is saying Purushaha. So the word Baldya Vidyabhushan gives a very beautiful comment on the word Purushaha. He says Puru means gifts, and Purushaha, Shaha comes from the word Shanoti, means to give. So it means the Lord who gives gifts to his devotees is called Purusha. There is also another very beautiful meaning of the word Purusha. Pura Sharori. Sharohari. What does it mean? It means that he is someone who stays ahead and behind his devotees. That is called a Purusha. So it is said, Krishna, when he would graze cows in Vrindavan, he would keep the cows in the front of him and he would walk behind them. Because he felt the dust that is rising from the cows, when the dust from the cows' hoof prints fall on my body, I get purified. So Krishna is feeling like that and he is standing behind the cows and walking behind them, basically. So Krishna is always walking behind his devotees. Unfortunately, we don't have eyes in the back. So we can't see that Krishna is actually walking behind us. Sakshi Gopal, in the story of Sakshi Gopal, Krishna told this Brahmana boy, he said, go in the front, I will walk behind you. Actually, we should all have this meditation that Krishna is walking behind us. And every single devotee, Krishna is walking behind us. Therefore, he is called Purushaha. So Krishna, Kunti Maharani is saying, Namasye Purusham Tvadyam. Tva means you and Adyam means you are the original person. So you are not just one more person, but you are the original person. And Kunti Maharani is clarifying here, I am offering obeisances to the original person. So, people might say that she is an aunt. And how is an aunt offering obeisances to a nephew? So she is clarifying, he is not only my nephew, he is also the original person. And therefore, as an aunt, I can't pay obeisances, but as a devotee, I can pay obeisances to Krishna. And Krishna is also, Kunti Maharani is also trying to tell Krishna that when you went from Vrindavan, you left Vrindavan, only a part of you actually left Vrindavan. It is said that Krishna, when he left to Mathura, complete Krishna didn't go to Mathura. Only the Vishnu aspect of Vasudeva Krishna went to Mathura. And the original Vrindavan Krishna stayed back. So Kunti Maharani is telling Krishna that just like only one part of you went ahead and the other part of you stayed in Vrindavan, similarly you go ahead, one part of you sent to Dwaraka and you stay back with us in Hastinapur. So Kunti Maharani is like, making that request. So he is not just a blood relative of Kunti, but he is Prakrite Param. That means he is a controller of material nature. And he is Ishwaram. So, she is using all these words, Ishwaram, Prakrite Param, to show that he is not an ordinary person and he is a Supreme Lord. And there are so many stories where Krishna proves that he is not an ordinary person. For example, he got back the sons of his guru, Sandipani Muni. And Sandipani Muni's sons were dead. They were taken by Yamaraj to Yamaloka. Krishna went all the way to Yamaloka and told Yamaraj, give me back the sons of my guru, Sandipani Muni. And Yamaraj said, I took them only for having darshan of you. And Krishna actually got them back from Yamaloka. So here, she is ending this verse by saying, Sarva Bhutanam Antar Bahir Avasthitam. That means he is inside everyone also and he is outside everyone also. To help us understand this, I'm going to tell you all a story. So the plan is for this whole session, every verse I'll tell you all a story, so that you can remember the verse and the meditation of that verse nicely, and the stories remain in your mind. One time, there was a doctor who met a group of medical students, and these medical students they had just returned back from a trip to Ananta Padmanabh temple in Trivandrum. And many of the South Indian temples, if you have gone there, they'll tell you the men have to remove their shirts. They cannot go with their shirts. They only have to go with dhoti, traditional dress. So some of these boys, the medical boys that went there, they were not comfortable. They said, what is this? First of all, they were not even in dhoti kurta. They were in, pant shirt basically. So the authorities didn't allow them to go in only. Some of them defied and they didn't go in. And some of them, they said, fine, let's just go, so just for the sake of it, they went. Some of them went in with devotion. So when they came back, there was a lot of discussion going on why we should remove our shirt. And they went and spoke to their professor, who was a very big doctor, and he was a professor on human anatomy. So, and in addition to that, he was a great devotee also, that makes it interesting combination. So he gave a very interesting answer, why we have to remove our shirt when we go into the temple. So he said that the Lord, when the creation is created, from his navel, a lotus stem comes out, right? And from that lotus, on the top of the lotus stem, Brahmaji is born. So the whole universe is literally created within that lotus stem. It is explained, the 14 planetary systems are situated within that lotus stem of the Lord. That's how big and massive that stem is. And when the whole universe gets destroyed, the entire thing goes into the stomach of the Lord. So this cycle is called Anantam. It is an eternal cycle. And the Lord is called Ananta Padmanabh because from his navel that lotus stem comes out and it goes back in. And because the cycle is going on eternally, he is called Ananta Padmanabhan. So he said nowadays there is something called umbilical cord stem cells. There is a whole therapy called umbilical cord stem cell therapy. And the scientists have discovered the stem cells from the umbilical cord of a baby, connecting the baby to the mother, is very potent. It has powerful tissues. The cells inside that stem cell are not ordinary cells. They are very special cells because from those cells, stem cells, hundreds of diseases, complicated diseases can be treated. And these cells are special cells because they have much more potency than normal cells. And the potency of these, they're called multiple potencies basically. So each cell can become so many other cells. So that is the way in which these umbilical cord cells, all other cells of any other part of our body can only become that particular organ or that particular cell. But the cells in the umbilical cord of the baby can become any cell, any organ basically. That's why they are called multipotent cells. So it is said, so this professor is explaining to his students, when we imagine if ordinary mother and ordinary baby's umbilical cord is so powerful, how powerful will be the umbilical cord of the Lord? The lotus stem coming out from the Lord. I mean, what kind of potencies will be there in that? So this professor was telling, whenever you go in front of the Lord, you have to recognize and acknowledge the fact that you are nothing in front of him. So symbolically, when we go in front of the Lord, removing our shirt, we're actually saying that we are insignificant in front of you. And the umbilical cord is a connection. Just like the Lord is, the mother is connected to the baby through the umbilical cord. When we go in front of the Lord, we are showing our umbilical cord, saying that we are originating from you, and we recognize that and we accept that we are nothing. All of us have 9 holes in the body, and from all 9 holes only dirty things come out. But the navel is a hole from which nothing comes out. For the Lord, from the 9 holes nothing dirty comes out, but from the navel the whole universe comes out. Imagine what a difference it is. And therefore the Lord is called Hiranyagarbha. That means the one whose navel is very beautiful. So Sarva Bhutanam Antar Bahir Avasthitam. So Kunti Maharani is saying, I am only inside you, I am only outside you. You are inside me and you are outside of me also. So she begins with this prayer to remind herself that I am not talking to my nephew, I am talking to the Supreme Lord. And she wants to remind herself that he is inside me also and he is outside me also. He knows every thought of mine and every desire of mine and every prayer of mine, even before I offer it. And therefore, Krishna, she is saying, doesn't belong only to me. He belongs to the whole world. And from here onwards, a beautiful conversation follows between Krishna and Kunti Maharani. So this conversation is not in the Bhagavatam, but the Acharyas in the commentary give a very beautiful understanding of this conversation. So when Kunti prays like this, Krishna asks her, if I am within and without, why is it that no one comes to me? Very little people, Why does no one see me? And then Kunti answers in the next prayer. Maya javanika channam Ajnana dokshajam avyayam Na lakshyase mudadrisha Nato natya dharo yatha. So Krishna is asking, why am I, if I am inside and outside everybody, why does nobody see me? So she is saying, you are invisible. Maya javanika channam. There is a hidden covering that covers you. Just like if you go to Vrindavan without association of devotees. For that matter, you go to any holy dham without association of devotees. You go with your family as a picnic. You will see the dham, but on the dham there will be a covering. A big bed sheet put on the dham. And you will only see that covering. But when you go in the association of devotees, the devotees remove that covering first. And then expose the dham to us. Give us access to the dham. And then we can see what is invisible to our eyes normally. So, so the curtain is invisible. You can see him, but at the same time you can't see him. That's why Kunti Maharani is saying, Maya javanika channam. It's a curtain. So usually when you see a curtain, you can't see through it, right? But this curtain is an invisible curtain. You can see through it, but you can't see him. That's what she is trying to say. It's not an ordinary curtain. It's a Maya's curtain. It's a magical curtain, basically. And then she says that's why there are so many stories in the Bhagavatam and so many scriptures where you find episodes where somebody, like the Brahmana in Vrindavan, Krishna went to ask them for food. He sent his friends to ask Brahmanas who are doing yajna for food. The Brahmana said, no, we are very busy doing yajna. This food is meant for the yajna. We can't give it to Krishna. They are seeing Krishna, yet they can't see him. That means sometimes you see Krishna, but you can't understand him. You can't perceive him. You can't connect with him, basically. Adokshajam avyayam means beyond the sense perception, and he is unaffected. Krishna is not seen with the eyes, but with a pure heart. The Brahmanas could not see Krishna, but the Brahmanas' patnis could very clearly see Krishna. That's why the word adokshaja is used. What is the meaning of the word adokshaja? In Sanskrit grammar, the first letter of Sanskrit grammar is A. And the last letter of Sanskrit grammar, the alphabets, Sanskrit alphabets, is Ksha. And adokshaja means the one who is you cannot describe him with A and Sha. Anything that lies between A and Sha. That means you cannot describe him in words. That's what the meaning of the word adokshaja is. So Krishna is beyond our description. There is another meaning of the word adokshaja. The word aksha in Sanskrit also means gambling. Aksha refers to the gambling match. And adokshaja, akshaja means the one who was born in a gambling match. So Krishna is remembering how Kunti is remembering how Krishna had protected her daughter-in-law Draupadi, appearing in a gambling match. So she's saying, Adokshaja, you appeared in the midst of low-class gambling match to protect your devotee, and therefore you are Adokshaja. Again, Maya Javanika Chandam, nobody saw him in that gambling match. Dushasan never saw him, nobody saw him. I mean, only thing is Dushasan got exhausted after pulling so much of a sari of Draupadi. And the word avyaya here means Krishna does not disappear from our life. No matter what, Krishna does not disappear from our life. And I'm going to tell you a fantastic story to help us understand this. There was a king named Yayati. And Yayati, by doing so much of charity and tapasya and all, he reached the heavens. So when he reached the heavens, he got a very special seat in heaven, which is equal to Indra because of his charity. So Indra did not like this. Imagine, in his own kingdom, in his own court, another chair is put for this fellow, while Indra is still existing and while Indra is still ruling. And the chair is exactly same as Indra's chair. So Indra really gets upset. So he asks Yayati, exactly what did you do charity? Can you tell me exactly what charity did you do? Yayati started giving a whole list of all the charity that he did. And then Indra asked him at the end of that whole list, he said, do you know who is the most charitable person in the universe? Yayati said, obviously it's me. Where is the doubt, And somehow Indra tricked him. And the moment he said, I am the most charitable person in the world, he fell down from the heaven and started falling towards the earth. And Yayati was totally bewildered. The guru of the demigods, Brahaspati, he went to Yayati and explained to him. He said, from the moment you began to speak your own praise, slowly you began to slide down from the heaven. And the moment you said that I am the best in charity, you have no place in the heaven. He fell down all the way, and he fell to the place where his grandson, whose name was Pritardhana, he was doing a yajna. So obviously from this story, the first thing we understand is that please be careful when you praise yourself too much. There is a sliding down that is happening unknowingly. We are not understanding, but slowly we are sliding downwards. The more you start praising yourself, slowly you start moving downwards, basically. Subtle thing. So Pritardhana saw his grandfather, fell down next to him. He said, hey, you were in the heaven? You went to heaven? How come you came back here? So Yayati told him everything that happened. So this Pritardhana was a great scholar, very intelligent person, very, very wonderful devotee. So he told Yayati, his grandfather, he said, why do you go to heaven? Indra is so insecure, he will do like this only. Why don't you put effort and go to the spiritual world by doing tapasya and go to Lord Narayan? So Yayati, he had a doubt. He said, what if the Lord only pushes me down? This one fellow already has pushed me down. From heaven I came back all the way down. I did so much effort to go to heaven and he pushed me down. What if I go to the spiritual world after doing so much of tapasya and the Lord pushes me down? And this Pritardhana said, he will never do that. And he explained the difference between the Lord and Indra. He said, Indra is insecure, but the Lord is not at all insecure. And he said, Lord Narayan, before a person comes to the spiritual world, he waits for that person to develop all 8 qualities that only he has. What are the 8 qualities that only Narayan has? The 8 qualities are, first, the self is free from sin. Second, free from old age. Third, free from death. Fourth, free from sorrow. Fifth, free from hunger. Sixth, free from thirst. Seventh, that person has a desire to know the truth, basically. That is the 7th one. And the 8th one is, that person is committed to the truth, basically. So the 2 words that are used are Satya Kama, that means the one who desires the truth, and Satya Sankalpa, that means the one who has committed to be truthful. So these are 8 qualities that exist only in the Lord. But the Upanishads mention, Nacha Punar Avartita, Nacha Punar Avartita. That means one who goes there to the spiritual world never comes back. So the word Avyaya, the word Avyaya means the one who never slips or never lets you slip, basically. Vyaya means the one who lets you slip. So there are many people in this world who let you slip. There are many people in this world who let you go. But the Lord is called Avyaya. That means no matter what, He will never let you go. That's the meaning of the word Avyaya. So Kunti Mahani is offering this beautiful prayer to the Lord, and she's telling the Lord that you are invisible, but at the same time you don't let anybody go who takes shelter of you. You are Avyaya. So then Krishna asks her, if you are able to praise me so much, and if you're saying such wonderful things about me, how come you are calling yourself ignorant? So Kunti is telling Krishna that I am very ignorant. So here, so Kunti is approaching Krishna from the mood that she is insignificant. So Kunti, she answers this question of Krishna. So if you look at this, Maya Javanika Channam, Agyana Adokshaja Avyayam. Agyana means ignorant, basically. So I don't have that much knowledge. Kunti Maharani is telling Krishna. So Krishna is asking her, if you are so ignorant, then how come you are offering such beautiful prayers? And then she gives a very beautiful answer to that question. This is the next verse. Tata Paramahamsanam Muninam Amalatmanam Bhakti Yoga Vidanartham Katham Pashyemi Hi Striyaha. So she is essentially saying over here that you yourself descend to propagate transcendental knowledge, transcendental science of devotional service, and to the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators, who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. How then can we women know you perfectly? So she is doing two things over here. First thing, she is establishing the fact that you are the goal to achieve. We want to achieve you. But the problem is that though we want to achieve you as a goal, we are unqualified. Kunti Maharani is telling about herself. She's saying, I'm a woman. And because I'm a woman, I'm not able to understand everything. I'm not able to perfect my life by understanding everything. So she's kind of taken it on herself. That's why, because I'm a woman, therefore I can't understand everything. So let us tread this very tricky thing, in the context of feminism and in the context of Shastras degrading women and all that. So let us understand this from that context, okay? And of course, there is something more beautiful than that to understand. So Kunti, she is making a very interesting observation over here. She's telling, you descend to propagate devotional service, and you specifically descend for the Paramahamsas, Amala-atmanas and Muninam. For these people you come. But for people like me, I'm a woman, I'm so insignificant, I don't, how will I understand your knowledge? So that's the mood in which Kunti is speaking. So let us first try to understand this whole idea of Paramahamsanam. There are three words here. Paramahamsanam, Muninam, Amala-atmanam. Let us try to understand that first. And then we go to the last striya. So once Ramanujacharya was having a conversation with the Supreme Lord Ranganath, and they were having a very loving discussion. And Ramanujacharya, he's telling Lord Ranganath, he's saying, my dear Ranga, you are Hamsa. You are called Hamsa because of three reasons. The first reason you are called Hamsa is because the word Hamsa comes from the word Sangasya Hanta. Sangasya Hanta means, so Hamsa means Sangasya Hanta, which means the one who cuts the wrong understanding that somebody has. That's called Sangasya Hanta. So that means Ham means Saha. Ham Saha. Ham means cut off and Saha means wrong understanding. So what is the meaning of cut off wrong understanding? See, we all have some understanding or other, isn't it? We all, before we came to ISKCON and understood the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, we had some understanding of what what spiritual life meant. We have some understanding of what it means to be doing bhakti and all that. That understanding gets cut when you understand the philosophy that Krishna is trying to teach us. Therefore, he is called as Ham Saha. He cuts the wrong understanding. So Ramanujacharya says, first reason why you are called Hamsa is because you cut the wrong understandings. The second reason he is called Hamsa, another beautiful reason. It says, Hasati iti Hamsaha. Because he has a beautiful smile, therefore he is called Hamsaha. So Ramanujacharya is saying, you are called Hamsaha because you have a beautiful smile. Hasati iti Hamsaha. And the third reason why you are called Hamsaha, Ramanujacharya says, so this is a conversation he's having with the Lord. He is telling, Manoharam gacchati iti Hamsaha. Manoharam gacchati iti Hamsa means your walk is very beautiful. Therefore, you are called Hamsa. So Ramanujacharya says, you cut wrong understanding, therefore you are called Hamsa. You smile very beautifully, therefore you are called Hamsa. and you walk very beautifully. Therefore, you are called Hamsa. There is a beautiful description in the Ramayana about how Ram walks when he is going to pick up the bow of Shiva in Janak Maharaj's kingdom. It is said, Ram walked like 5 animals. He had the walk of a bull. You know, if you see the bull walking, the pride that he emits, right? He had the walk of an elephant, a royal walk of an elephant. He had the walk of a tiger, angry walk of a tiger. And he walked like a lion, the majestic walk of a lion. And then he walked like a snake, the speed of a snake. All 5 put together. Therefore, he is called as Hamsaha, because his walk is so beautiful. So, it is explained that actually swans were not called Hamsa before. They had some other name only. But because they had these 3 qualities of the Lord, therefore they are also called Hamsa. So it is not that the swans are called Hamsa, therefore the Lord is called Hamsa. The Lord is called Hamsa, therefore the swans are called Hamsa, because they have the same 3 qualities. They, extract milk from water, right? They know how to extract milk from water. That means they remove all the unnecessary things, they cut the unnecessary things and grab the essence. And they smile very beautifully. And they have, if you see, swan has a natural smile actually, It has like a small smile on its face. And its walk is also considered to be very graceful. So when Ramanujacharya told him like this, he said, the Lord is telling Ramanujacharya, I may be Hamsa, but you are Paramhamsa. You are the greatest of swans, because you do all this and more, basically. So therefore, Kunti Maharani is saying, Tata Paramahamsanam Muninam Amala Atmanam. There are 3 types of devotees that are being referred over here. Paramahamsam, that means the topmost of swans. Muninam, the great sages. And Amala Atmanam, those who are pure in the heart. So Kunti is here referring to some very special people in her family. When she is using these 3 names, she is referring to Vasudeva and Devaki. When she is talking about these, So she is saying, those who have prema bhakti like them, they are very fortunate. Devotees are called Hamsa because they know how to take nectar of Krishna and leave the water of gossip aside. They take the nectar of Krishna and they leave the water of gossip aside. And because they keep taking the nectar of Krishna, their hearts are filled with nectar. Krishna is called Hamsa because he swims in that heart, which is filled with nectar. That's why he's another deeper reason why he's called Hamsa. So Krishna, Kunti Maharani is saying, Bhakti Yoga Vidanartham, you are propagating the science of Bhakti through these personalities. But she says, Katam Pashyemi me striya, I am a simple woman. How can I know you perfectly? So she's kind of asking this question. If you remember a few days back, I had told the story of Vyasdev, and I said, he said 3 things. He went into the water and he came out and he said, Kali Sadhuhu, Yoshita Sadhuhu, and Shudra Sadhuhu. I said that time, Vyasdev said, among the 4 yugas, Kali Yuga is the best. And I gave a detailed explanation of that, right? And I left out the other 2. I didn't speak about Yoshita Sadhuhu and I didn't speak about, Shudra Sadhuhu. Now I'll speak about Yoshita Sadhuhu here. So Vyasdev is saying, among the 2 genders, men and women are the best. Vyasdev says like that. So some sages come with doubts. And, they want to know from Vyasdev why he is specifically saying that women are the best between man and woman. So Vyasdev says, if you are looking at it from the sadhana point of view, men can do better sadhana. But if you are looking at it from a sadhya point of view, women achieve much more, much faster the goal than men. So what is sadhya? Sadhya means the end result, right? So whatever you do, the end result of what you do is called as sadhya. So you are the goal. That's the third verse. So from a sadhya point of view, women are much better. So now, why women are much better from a sadhya point of view? There's a very beautiful explanation given. Men are given very complicated sadhanas to do. They're given very complicated sadhanas to do. So if you go to any of the sampradayas, whether it's Sri Sampradaya, whether you go to any of the sampradayas, the men's sadhana is very complicated. big rituals, Sandhya Vandan lasts for hours, and so many yagyas and so many complicated processes. They're recommended for men to follow. But for women, what is the sadhana that is recommended? Cook and offer food to the Lord. Make garlands and offer it to the Lord. Sing well, dance well, raise your kids well, and then you'll come to Vaikuntha. No sacred thread, no yantra, no tantra, no big sadhana. So the question is, are women denied these things? The answer is that they are not denied these things, they are relieved from these things. Why are they relieved from these things? Krishna has relieved women from all these complicated sadhanas because he wants them to cook for him. He doesn't want to take risk of making men cook for him, because he knows that men's mind are complicated. They need very complicated things to be satisfied, and he gives them such complicated things, and then after doing such complicated things they feel, wow, I'm doing nice bhakti. But for women, their hearts are so soft and they have such a personal connection with the Lord that simply by cooking for the Lord and offering to the Lord, they feel extremely satisfied and they feel extremely connected. And therefore, if at all the Lord has to say that you won't be granted moksha, or you won't be granted liberation, perfection of life, if you're not performing these sadhanas, then you can complain. Then the complaint is valid from women. But he never says that, because he has given such a big responsibility of feeding him to the women. He doesn't want them to take up any other responsibility. Because, imagine if somebody who is a bodyguard of the Prime Minister, he has two different seva at the same time. How will he manage both? Therefore, he is relieved from all other services. Only one thing he has to do, nothing else. Similarly, for women, the idea over here is that the sadhana is very simple, because it is the most important personal connection with the Lord. It is directly offered to the Lord, directly for the pleasure of the Lord. So here, when Kunti Maharani is praying like this, she says, such great Vaishnavas, Paramhamsas, Amalatmanas, Muninam, they can see you. But what about mere mortals like us? Kunti is asking. So when Krishna is being asked this question, how does he respond? So in the first 3 verses, which we just saw, she proves to the whole world that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and he is present everywhere. And to see him, we need to love him. She proves these 3 things in the first 3 verses. But she says, I don't have that love. She's concluding by saying, I don't have the love. Then she says something very interesting as a next verse. This is a very famous verse. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So she's saying, so essentially this verse, this is pure Nam Sankirtan. This is, every word is name of Krishna, right? Every word, look at this. Krishnaya, Vasudevaya, Devaki Nandanaya. So every word is Nam Sankirtan. So essentially, what she is doing so far, she has done Pranam and she has done Nam. So these are the 2 most important things in our life. Nam and Pranam. We don't need anything else in life, literally. So if you take shelter of the holy name of the Lord and you offer obeisances to the Lord, you have perfected your life, literally. So she is saying here, Krishnaya Vasudevaya. Oh Krishna, you are the son of Vasudeva. Devaki Nandanaya Cha. You are the pleasure of Devaki. And then he says, Nanda Gopakumaraya. So she's saying, you are the darling boy of Nanda Maharaj and the cowherds. Govindaya Namo Namaha. You are the enlaver of the cows and the senses. And she's saying, Namo Namaha. I'm offering respects to you. Nam and Pranam. So Kunti here is also offering respects to all her relatives here. Typically, between relatives, very difficult to have, respectful relationships, isn't it? So here is Kunti, and look at the equations basically. Sister-in-law and brother. So it's a little complicated situation normally, But here, because Krishna is in the center, She has so much respect for them. She's calling them Paramahamsas. She's calling them Amalatmanas. She's calling them Muninam, basically. Therefore, she's offering respects to them. The word Krishna, we will study this word in this verse. And I'm going to tell you all a beautiful story about the word Krishna. There was a gopi whose name was Chandramati. And Krishna would play with this gopi daily. And somehow this gopi would try to dodge him and not get caught by him. But somehow he would manage to reach her and break her pots. Every day he broke 2 pots of this gopi. So this gopi was getting really fed up, One day she decided, I'm going to trick Krishna. So instead of bringing earthen pots, this time she brought 2 metal pots. And she painted them to look like earthen pots. And it looked exactly like an earthen pot. And she carried it and she was trying to see what Krishna will do this time. So she put, she put one of them on the banks of the Yamuna river to go and fetch water. And she took one with her, basically. When she so when she saw, when she was putting her pot inside the Yamuna river and filling water with one pot, she suddenly heard a clang sound. And she saw that Krishna had kicked her pot. And the pot had tumbled and fell into the Yamuna river, basically. And then she ran to save that pot. Krishna kicked the second pot also, And the second pot also went and fell into the Yamuna river. And the gopi asked him, did you get upset that you could not, break both the pots and therefore you kicked them? Krishna told her, see there what's happening. And this gopi actually saw, towards the direction of the 2 pots. From the Yamuna river, 2 divine beings came out and they went to the spiritual world. So this Chandramati, she was shocked. So she asked him, what was that? Krishna explained to her, I broke their cycle of birth and death. Ordinary pots, which we think are inanimate. In Vrindavan, everything is animate. Even pots have Atma in it. The pots are also animated, basically. So she's saying, Krishna is telling her, both your pots have reached the spiritual world. So in the spiritual world, they will be in the form of pots only and doing their seva to Krishna over there. So her calculation completely went wrong. She thought she would stop him from breaking her pots. But he was breaking something else only. He was breaking bondage itself. He was breaking, the cycle of birth and death itself. That's when she realized, I thought I'll fool him. But it is not possible only to fool him. The word Krishna comes from 2 letters. The word first letter is Krishi. Krishi means earth, Bhumi. And Na means the one who gives pleasure to Bhumi. So Krishna means the one who gives Ananda to the earth and to all those who reside on earth. That's why this is the meaning of the word Krishna. So when there are a lot of bad people who are a burden to the earth, Krishna comes and decreases the burden of the earth and gives pleasure to Bhumi, to the earth. And therefore, when we chant the names of Krishna, when we chant the holy names of Krishna, we feel pleasure. And it also decreases our burden. So we not only feel pleasure, but it also decreases our burdens, basically. And the way to experience relief from the burdens of this world is Nam Sankirtan, chanting the holy names of Krishna. So essentially what Kunti Maharani is saying is that even if you are unqualified and you don't have love for Krishna, chant the names of Krishna, and as you chant the names of Krishna, slowly love will come. And therefore, Kunti Maharani is telling all of us, Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So what she is saying essentially is that you are lovable. You are not just the Supreme Lord who is far beyond us, but you are our darling. You are in our life. You are in our families, and we love you. So I may not be intelligent, I may not be educated, I may not be very, very smart, but I can still love you because I can chant your names. So that is what Kunti is trying to tell. So the next verse is very, very beautiful. This is one of the most beautiful verses of this prayer. Nama Pankaja Nabhaya Nama Pankaja Maline Nama Pankaja Netraya Namaste Pankajangriye. Kunti is now offering obeisances to the Lord part by part. She's offering obeisances to every part of the Lord's body. And because she is an aunt, she doesn't start with the feet. Normally when you offer obeisance to the Lord, you start from the feet and then you offer higher. But because she is the aunt of Krishna, she doesn't start with the feet because she doesn't want to embarrass him by immediately starting with the feet. So she first starts with the navel. Navel, because that's the connection. That it's a family connection, right? So she offers respects to Nabhaya. So here, every part of Krishna's body is compared to the lotus flower. Nama Pankaja Nabhaya. The abdomen of the Lord is the origin of the lotus flower from which Brahma is born. Nama Pankaja Maline, the one who is decorated with lotus garlands. Krishna is constantly decorated with beautiful garlands. Nama Pankaja Netraya, his eyes are shaped like lotus petals. And Namaste Pankajangriye, whose feet are engraved with lotuses. One way to see it is that his feet also looks like lotuses. The back of his heel looks like the bud of a lotus, closed lotus basically. That's the color, that's the texture. But also at the bottom of his feet, there is an engraving of lotus. Therefore, he is called Pankaja, Namaste Pankajangriye. So it is said that Krishna is always glancing at a lotus. This is one of the also reasons why he is called Padmanabha. He is also called as Pankaja Netraya, whatever. What do you mean by he is glancing at a lotus all the time? The understanding is that Vrindavan is in the shape of a lotus. Huge lotus. And Krishna is constantly glancing at Vrindavan, which is in the form of lotus. And all the Vrajavasis are like bumblebees, hovering around the lotus flower of Vrindavan. And Krishna is always looking at this lotus and looking at all the Vrajavasis hovering around the lotus of Vrindavan. And that's why he is called Pankaja Netraya, because his eyes are constantly glued at a lotus. The abdomen of the Lord, when you meditate on the abdomen of the Lord, it is the source of the universe. The garland, when we meditate on the garland, it's not just a bunch of flowers. We should look at that garland as a garland of so many devotees. So those flowers, each flower in Krishna's garland represents one devotee. So he is wearing a garland not of just lotuses. He is wearing a garland of lotus-like devotees, basically. That is the meaning of the word, that he is wearing this garland. The eyes of the Lord, when we meditate on the eyes of the Lord, his eyes are glancing on the world with so much mercy, so much of love. And when we meditate on the feet of the Lord, it is that feet that has delivered Ahalya. It is that feet which was washed by Brahma and which conquered the whole universe. That's the meditation that we have. The Lord is very strongly connected with lotuses, right? So I said the word Padmanabha. I spoke one story about the concept of Padmanabha before, the lotus stem cells and all that. Now I'm going to tell you all a very beautiful story that actually talks about the origin of this particular deity. There was a sage named Divakar Muni, and the sage used to worship Shaligram Shila. So every day he would worship Shaligramji, and one day as he was worshipping Shaligram, a very beautiful looking boy came and stood next to him. The sage looked at this boy, he was mesmerized. He just loved this little boy. And he was so impressed. He just, out of his love, he asked this boy, "Oh boy, why don't you just stay with me? Don't go home, don't just stay here with me." This boy very sweetly he spoke to Divakar Muni and he said, yes, I don't mind staying with you, but I have a condition. The sage said, "No problem, love is blind, right?" So here he said, "No problem, whatever you say, we'll do." And the sage told, little boy told the sage that you should never get angry with me. I can do anything. Whatever I do, you should not question me. You should not get angry with me. The sage said, you know what maximum mischief this boy will do, right? He can't do much. He said, no problem. Perfectly fine. And this boy, he was very, very naughty. He did so much mischief, pulling the beard of Divakar Muni and scratching his hair and doing all kinds of crazy things in the ashram. And the Divakar Muni didn't say anything because he loved this boy so much. One day, as the Divakar Muni was worshipping a Shaligram Shila, this boy took the Shaligram Shila and swallowed it. Divakar Muni said, what nonsense? How can you do this? My worshipable Lord, he just swallowed it. And Divakar Muni got very angry and pushed him. And this little boy fell. And he got up and he said, you pushed me. You got angry on me. Now I'm going. And then this boy told him, because you have broken your promise, I'm going. But if you ever want to see me, come to the Anantan forest. Anantan Vanam, and then you will find me there. And he disappeared. That's when Divakar Muni came to know that this is his Supreme Lord. He was, worshipping all this while. He was with him and he misunderstood him. And Divakar Muni became mad and started running all over searching for the Anantan forest. And no matter how many people he asked, nobody knew where Anantan forest was. He was running like crazy. And somehow after many, many days of exhausting searching, without eating, without drinking, he was so exhausted. He just sat under a tree in a forest. And as he was sitting under this tree in a forest, he overheard a conversation happening between a husband and wife. Close by, there was a hut, small hut in the middle of a forest. And inside the hut, the husband and wife were arguing with each other. Imagine, in the middle of a forest also, husband-wife argument goes on. So Divakar Muni overheard their conversation, and the husband in great anger is telling his wife, if you do this again, then I'll send you to the Anantan forest. Divakar Muni got up and he ran inside the house, literally interrupted their fight. And he said, can you please tell me where Anantan forest is? You can fight later. So this husband, he stopped the fight and he told this Muni, the direction to the Anantan forest. And this Divakar Muni, with great enthusiasm, he ran to the Anantan forest. And as soon as he reached the Anantan forest, he saw that mischievous boy standing there. And Divakar Muni fell flat on the ground of offering obeisances. And he was going close to the Lord started running. And Divakar Muni is like an old man, he's telling him, no, don't run, I can't chase you. And the Lord started running and running and running. And suddenly, when he ran, he disappeared into a huge tree. There was a massive tree. And when the Lord disappeared into the tree, that whole tree fell down. And when the tree fell, the tree was 8 miles long. And it's explained that entire tree took the form of Ananta Padmanabh. And Divakar Muni, when he saw that, he was amazed. And he wanted to have darshan of the full Ananta Padmanabh deity. He walked 8 miles from the feet of the Lord till the head of the Lord to have darshan of the full form of the Lord. And after he had full darshan of the Lord in this particular form, so it is said that this particular form of the Lord lasts over so many miles. It is said the head of the Lord is in a place called Thiruvallam. The torso, the body of the Lord is in the place known as Trivandrum. And the feet of the Lord is in a place known as Tirupadapuram. So that's how long the Lord was. So today these 3 places exist, but it is explained that in the stomach of the Lord, there was a beautiful 8-petaled lotus originating from the stomach of the Lord. And one point of that, one petal of that 8-petaled lotus was made of pure gold. And it is said that petal, which was made of pure gold, was the entire Meru mountain. And imagine how huge that form of Ananta Padmanabh was. So Divakar Muni prayed to the Lord. He said, my dear Lord, I can't worship such a big form of yours. Impossible. Walking 8 miles every day to worship your form. He said, can you reduce your form so that I can worship you nicely? The Lord asked him, how big should I become? Divakar Muni put his danda down. He had a tridanda. He threw his danda on the ground and he said, become 3 times this size. And the Lord takes the exact size of 3 dandas of Divakar Muni. And today if you go to Ananta Padmanabh, that same form is there in Trivandrum. And the Lord can be seen in 3 doors. That is, and obviously now that form was huge. So you actually had to go to 3 cities to see the Lord. But to commemorate that particular story, even today, you have to see the Lord through 3 doors. So first door you can only see the feet of the Lord. The second door you can only see the body of the Lord. And the third door you can only see the face of the Lord. Like that, that is the whole mood. So Kunti Maharani is trying to tell over here that Krishna is not just lovable, he is also extremely beautiful. Every part of Krishna's body is extremely beautiful. So Krishna asks Kunti, why are you taking shelter of my feet? What is the logic? Why are you taking shelter of my feet? What have I done for you? Kunti says, let me tell you a list of what you have done for me. And then Kunti offers this very beautiful prayer. Yatha Rishikesh Khalena Devaki Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita Vimochitaham cha sahatmaja vibho Tvayeva nathena muhurvapadganat. So now Kunti is making a list of all that Krishna has done for her and her family. So one time I sat down and actually made a list of the dangers that Kunti faced in her life from her birth till the last phase of her life. And I found 23 problems that came in Kunti's life. Not 1, not 2. 23 problems. I'm just quickly going to read out all the 23 problems. Kunti Bhoj adopted her. So she had to quit her parents and be raised by somebody else. Second, she served Durvas Muni, but she pleased him. So there was a danger at that point that he could have easily cursed her, and that danger passed. Surya, in spite of Kunti being a young girl at that point in time, he forced her to unite with him. Then she had to abandon her newborn child Karna, and then her husband was cursed when he had gone for hunting. Her husband gave up kingship and led life as a vanaprastha in their peak of youth. And then the death of her husband and her co-wife, leaving her to take care of the 5 children. Rumors of the Pandavas not being her sons. She had to deal with that. That's also not easy. And then hostility from the very beginning in Hastinapur. As soon as I stepped in Hastinapur, constantly problems on a daily basis. Bhima was poisoned and he disappeared for so many days from Kunti's life. Then the Lakshagraha, all of them were burned to death almost in that Lakshagraha. Her 5 sons marrying 1 wife, socially very challenging, situation. Gambling match, massive problem. Hearing the news of the Pandavas losing everything, again, so hurtful for Kunti. Draupadi, her daughter-in-law being disrobed publicly. Separation from her children for 13 years. She couldn't see her 5 children. Staying in somebody else's house in spite of having 5 powerful sons. Again, it's a very, very calamitous situation. And Karna insulting her and blaming her for everything that happened to him in his life. And then the war itself, the death of Karna, the death of Abhimanyu, her grandson, the death of all her grandsons, and life threat to her only left grandson Parikshit. 23 problems. If any of us had even one of these problems, you would have given up bhakti. You would say, Krishna doesn't exist only. Kunti had 23 problems. And these are also, I put them in broad topics, basically. But if you actually see, they are much more complicated problems when you actually see it. Kunti remembered all her problems over here, in this part. Why is Kunti remembering all her problems? Because with every problem, she could relate it to Krishna. Every problem that came in her life, she found a connection with Krishna. How Krishna somehow helped her. And in many of these cases, Krishna was physically not there at all, involved in the problem solving at all. But still, she feels Krishna only helped me. The understanding that we get from this particular verse is that you are a savior. So Kunti is telling Krishna, you are my savior. Whenever so many problems have come in my life, you have saved me. There's a very beautiful story to help us understand this. How Krishna is a savior. And Krishna and the Supreme Lord wants to save his devotees. During the Ram-Ravan war, there was a Lakshman had killed Indrajit, and Ravan got very angry. As the last attempt, Ravan sent his Moola Sena. Moola Sena is like one of the most powerful parts of Ravan's army. He sent that Sena to fight with Ram and the Vanaras. It is explained, Kammuni explains the Moola Sena coming out of the fort of Ravan. It is said this Moola Sena of Ravan is used only when there is a massive calamity. Ravan doesn't send this Sena unless his personal life is in danger. So he reserved this Moola Sena right till the end of the war. The 7th day of the war, the Vanaras were exhausted, tired. That time he sends the Moola Sena. And this Moola Sena of Ravan, it is explained, the number of people that came out appeared like waves in an ocean. There is no end only to the Sena. Such a massive Sena. The Vanaras were very scared. They didn't know how to handle this. And Ram told all the Vanaras, don't worry, go and hide yourself. I will take care of these Rakshasas alone. All the Vanaras went and hid themselves. And Ram stood alone and faced this Moola Sena of Ravan. Massive army. And Kamba, he explains this fight of Ram with the Moola Sena of Ravan. It lasted for 3 hours. But in the end, the entire army was dead. And if Kamba is asked this question, how many people did Ram kill? Kamba gives an explanation with a very interesting calculation. He says, Ram had a bow in his hand. And the name of that bow is called Kodanda. So, on top of that bow of Lord Ram is a small bell. It's a very tiny bell. It is explained that when Ram kills 1,000 elephants, 10,000 chariots, 1 crore horses, 10,000 soldiers, and if Ram kills so many people, so many of these people, then one body which is headless gets up from the ground and dances. And if in that way 1 crore bodies dance, the bell rings once. Ting, it rings once. And it is explained that for 3 hours the bell was ringing constantly. 180 minutes the bell was constantly ringing. And imagine how many Rakshasas he would have destroyed. Therefore, one of the names of the Lord, he is called Dhanvi. Dhanvi means the one who is expert in using the bow and protecting his devotees. Ram does not use the bow for any other purpose than to protect his devotees. That is the only purpose for which Ram uses his bow. And once that task is over, Ram puts that bow at the feet of his guru. Doesn't touch that bow. Because he doesn't need the bow to rule the kingdom. He needs the bow only to protect his devotees when there is a danger. And therefore, whenever we are in a situation in our life where we feel that there is some danger, we should remember that God is a savior. He is our savior. The next verse, Kunti Maharani says, Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanat Asat Sabhaya Vanavasa Krichrita Mride Mride Aneka Maharata Shruto Drauni astras chashma harer birakshita. So here the word Vishat Mahagne, the word Vishat means poison. Why is Kunti keeping account of the number of times Krishna has protected her? The reason she is keeping account is because she wants to be grateful to Krishna. When bad things happen to us, we keep a good count of it. And people are very expert in recalling all the bad that has happened to their life. With dates, with exact time also, very detailed analysis. But when Krishna has blessed us, Krishna has saved us, Krishna has helped us, we conveniently forget all those episodes. Kunti Maharani is teaching us, keep recalling all the episodes where Krishna has saved you. Keep recalling all those episodes where Krishna has saved you in some form or the other. And that is very important for our devotional life. One time, His Holiness Radhana Swami Maharaj was asked, are you a singer or are you a speaker? You know, I mean, devotees can either sing very well or they can speak very well, you know. Maharaj said, I'm neither. I am a prayerer. And it's very beautiful to think of it like that, because ultimately the real shelter of the Lord comes when we offer prayers to Him. Very sincerely. Your externals don't matter at all. What you do and what you don't do, it really doesn't matter. But when you offer prayers to the Lord, that really matters. So here Kunti Maharani is remembering all those times that Krishna protected her. When a sugarcane is squeezed, then sweet juices come out. When sandalwood is rubbed against rough wood, then fragrance comes out. When gold is put into fire, it becomes more effulgent and more purer. If you want to see who is a good devotee, see how he or she behaves when he is in trouble. That's the indication of a good devotee. This is the gold standard. Most of us, we fail miserably when we are in trouble, when we are in problems. We fail miserably because suddenly we don't remember only we are devotees. That's the gold standard of what it means to be a good devotee. A swimmer is not judged when he swims in a swimming pool. You put that swimmer in the middle of a current of massive ocean or a massive river. There, if he learns to swim, he will know which current to avoid, which current to actually go with, which current to fight with. That's a sign of an expert, basically. So those who are experts in keeping their faith in the dark tunnels of calamity, knowing very well that at the end of the tunnel there is light of Krishna, that person is the one who actually understands bhakti well. So therefore, Kunti Maharani is telling us through this prayer that Krishna, you are powerful. You are not just a savior, you are actually very powerful. So one time, there is a very beautiful story that is there in the Brahma Vaivarta Puran. This is a very different story from what you would have always heard normally. One time, Shanidev was in very deep meditation. And as Shani was in deep meditation, his wife, Mandha, she came and stood next to him. And she was hoping that he would give her attention, you know. But Shani had not realized the presence of his wife, absorbed in meditation basically. So she stood for a long period of time and she didn't get attention. And she really got angry and she cursed him. She cursed him that because you're not looking at me, she cursed that whoever you look at will be burned to ashes. So Shani became like stunned, you know, that the curse that he received. So in that period, Lord Shiva and Parvati Devi, they're given birth to a little baby boy. And Shani wanted to visit this newborn baby boy and, you know, see him. And he remembered this curse. And he told Parvati, see, please let me not come. I have a very bad curse by my wife. It's, I think, very bad for the baby. Parvati said, don't worry. Shiva's child, Parvati's child. What's the problem? Come, no problem. So Shani went and took the little baby in his hand. And as soon as the baby saw Shani and Shani saw this baby, the head of this baby blasted. And Mother Parvati was very disturbed. She started crying very loudly. At that point in time, in great anxiety, she called for her brother Lord Narayan. It is explained that Parvati and Narayan are brothers. They are connected to the same father, the ocean god, Himalaya Putra. Parvati is Himalaya Putri, and there are many stories, especially if you study the story of Madurai. There is a temple of Meenakshi in Madurai. In that temple's Talapuran, there is a story of how Parvati made Narayan her brother, basically. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that story. But when this happened, this calamity happened, she called out loudly to Lord Narayan for help. And Lord Narayan appeared, and he got the face of a male elephant and replaced it on this newborn baby's face. And he named this baby as Ganesh. So it is explained that Lord, the Supreme Lord, is Pranaha. That means he is not only expert in saving the lives of normal people, but he also is expert and powerful to save the lives of even the Devatas. Even when the Devatas fall in trouble, Lord Narayan comes and helps them. And therefore, he is called a savior, and he is called very powerful. This probably is the last verse that we will take up for today. Vipada santuta shashvat tatra tatra jagat guru bhavato darshanam yatsyat apunar bhavadarshanam. This is a prayer that ideally, if you don't have faith, better not offer. One prayer that you can sincerely avoid and be honest with your capacity. Kunti Maharani can offer this prayer. You know what she's saying? She's telling, I wish all these calamities happen again and again. Vipada santuta shashvat. Shashvat means eternally. Let this vipadas keep coming in my life. She's saying, Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru. Because she's saying, Bhavata Darshanam Yatsyat. See, she's saying that whenever calamities come in our life, we get to see you. And therefore she's saying, Apunar Bhavadarshanam. And if we see you, then we don't have to see the cycle of birth and death again. When we see you, we don't have to see, Yama and the cycle of birth and death. So, obviously now, we are not at the position of Kunti Maharani that we can offer such a prayer. But from this, we can learn one very nice thing that I felt could be a very beautiful meditation. So here, the understanding is that you are a liberator. That means Krishna liberates us. Liberates us from what? One, a cycle of birth and death. But also he liberates us from all our tensions and worries and anxieties. That's why he's called a liberator. And here, let me tell you all a very beautiful story, and this is the last story I'm going to tell for the day. And this story will make you all so happy. One time, there was a gopi in Vrindavan, and this gopi had a cow. The cow ideally gives 5 things: milk, curd, ghee, urine, and dung. These are 5 things that are given by the cow. But her cow was only giving 2 things: urine and dung. So she went to Gargacharya. So she lived in Vrindavan. So she went to Gargacharya, was a great sage in Vrindavan, and she complained again to him. One of the problems that sadhus have to deal with is household problems. People have all kinds of household problems, and they come to a sadhu and they blurt it out, expecting the sadhu to actually solve their problems. Household problems. So imagine this lady is coming to Gargacharya and is talking about her cow not giving milk. Obviously now, whenever somebody comes to a great sage and comes with material household problems, the sage always gives a spiritual solution. Sometimes you might think, Arey, what is this? I asked something else, he is saying something else. And you should know whom to ask what, isn't it? You ask that person, he will give obviously spiritual solutions only. What else do you expect him to give, isn't it? So she told Gargacharya her problem. And Gargacharya told her, take your cow to Krishna. She was scared. She said, no. That Krishna, he is so dangerous, he is so mischievous. The Gargacharya told her, just keep your cow in front of Krishna for some time. Just make the cow stand for some time in front of Krishna. So the Gopi says, no, Krishna is so mischievous. If he sees a cow, he'll pull her ears, he'll pull her tail. I don't want to take any risk. So Gargacharya said, see, just go and do it. Even if you can't make the cow stand in front of Krishna, at least take the cow for a walk. And somewhere on the way, if the cow sees Krishna and Krishna sees the cow, that will be a solution. So this lady took the cow and went for a walk. Nowadays, people go with dogs for a walk. In Vrindavan, they go with cows for a walk. As I said, the dust from the cow's feet, if it falls on you, you get purified. The dust from the dog's feet, if it falls on you, God knows what happens, basically. So this, this lady took this cow to Nanda Bhavan and she called out, Krishna, Krishna. And Krishna came out and asked her, what happened? She said, how are you? Krishna said, I'm fine, And Krishna saw that cow for some time. He looked at her. He was puzzled, He didn't understand only what happened exactly. So she waited for some time till Krishna saw the cow nicely. And then she was trying to leave from there and taking the cow. The cow is not moving only. Cow is staring at Krishna, not moving only. Somehow she took the cow away. The next day, so she went to sleep, that day got over. Next day morning, she went to milk her cow. When she milked her cow, the cow gave 100 liters of milk. Straight. She was shocked. I mean, she was used to little or nothing, basically. And so what she did was, she removed that 100 liters of milk. And she used a lot of that for different things. And she kept aside a little bit of that for making curd the next day. So she set the curd. And the next day when she saw, the curd had become 100 liters. From 100 liters of milk, you can't get 100 liters of curd exactly, right? Especially if you have used some part of it. 100 liters of curd. She was bewildered. She said, how is it possible? So she took that curd and she made butter out of it. And she got 100 liters of butter. From 100 liters of curd, it's impossible to get 100 liters of butter. But she got 100 liters of butter. And from that butter, she churned to make ghee. She got 100 liters of ghee now. So she took 10 liters of that ghee to Gargacharya and she gave it to him. He asked her, how come you got so much? Yesterday you didn't have anything. And then she told her the whole story. Krishna just saw this cow and the next day this cow is giving 100 liters of milk. And then 100 liters of curd and 100 liters of butter and 100 liters of ghee. Gargacharya said, this is the power of Krishna's glance. So when we say darshan, we think that we are going to take darshan. But actually Krishna is taking darshan of us. When we say darshanad, when Kunti Maharani is saying over here, vipada santuda shashvat tatra tatra jagat guru bhavato darshanam yatsyad apunar bhava darshanam. This darshan here is not referring to we looking at Krishna, it is referring to Krishna looking at us. So when our mind is disturbed, when you have a very disturbed mind, just go to the temple and have darshan of the Lord. Let the Lord glance at us. He will transform our life and all our problems. Therefore, the temple is called Mandira. It's a place which is hospital for all the problems of the mind. So whenever your mind is disturbed, just go and have darshan of Krishna. Bas, that's all. So Gargacharya, he told her, daily show this cow to Krishna and see what transformation happens. So this gopi began to take every day the cow to Krishna. And the funny thing that was happening was the cow began to grow in reverse order. Every day it started growing younger. Little by little it started growing younger. And so essentially, when you have darshan of the Lord and the Lord has darshan of you, when the Lord sees you, darshan of the Lord makes your heart very joyful. And when you have great joy in your heart, you don't age very fast. When you have too much tension in your heart, you age very fast, right? White hair appearing in 20s and 30s, Not normal, isn't it? There's so much of stress and so much of anxiety and so much of pain that we're all going through. The more stress you are, the more faster you'll age. And the less stress you are, you'll reverse in age, literally, So here, the cow is reversing in age over here, And this lady was just so amazed. Beauty tip. So those who are blissful don't age very fast. And just like Krishna made this cow into a calf, similarly, having Krishna's darshan has the ability to get rid of our tensions and stresses. And we will start actually becoming happier and more joyful. So here, when we say that Krishna is the liberator, what are we talking about? He is not just to liberate you from the cycle of birth and death, that he will do. But he is there to liberate you from all the stress and anxieties of this world also. Simply, you go and stand in front of him and let him look at you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. We will continue Kunti Maharani's prayers next time. The next time we have a lot more prayers to cover. I was supposed to cover 3 more today, but somehow I didn't manage. So the next time, please come on time so that we can cover the rest of the prayers and some more amazing stories. Yeah, we'll see. If it happens, it happens. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.